So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Welcome to those of you joining from Europe, and good morning to those of you joining from the US. So today, this is the third episode in our online series of workshops hosted by Digital HealthWorks. Today, we're going to be talking about navigating 2024 headwinds for healthcare innovators. So unfortunately, it's just going to be me. Daniel's out sick today. But the idea that we have for these workshops, it's something that we've started this year, and we'd basically like to create a casual environment where we're able to discuss topics that are top of mind. We really encourage you to post any questions you have into the chat during the presentation, but then you're very welcome to unmute yourselves and turn on your cameras so you can join us in the discussion at the end. We will be starting with about a 10 to 15 minute presentation and then have 10 more minutes for discussion so that you can get back to your work in a nice 30 minutes. So do feel free to ask any questions. As a little bit of background, so Digital HealthWorks is a commercialization agency, as the name suggests, for digital health and medtech ventures. And our mission is to bring amazing medical innovations to the US and European markets specifically. So we have a great team of experts based out of Boston, Berlin, and myself in Lisbon. And we're working with our experts focus on regulatory affairs, market access, and sales. So anything to do with that is where we specialize. So today, my name's Romy Benninga. I'm a market access and medtech consultant for Digital HealthWorks. I've been with the agency for about a year and in the industry for about 7 years. And Daniel, who is the founder, will not be joining us today, unfortunately. But on the agenda for today, we're going to be talking about some of the headwinds in 2024, what to expect, what are the predictions, and then giving 3 tips on how to navigate these challenges. So we're going to talk about defining the value of your product or service, demonstrating impact, and then how to access the market through partnerships. So this actually ties in quite nicely with the first episode that we had a couple of weeks ago. And finishing off with a take-home message. So what is happening this year and what is to be expected? So venture funding last year was at its lowest in the past 4 years. The digital health industry itself raised a total of 10.7 billion over almost 500 deals. But again, this was the lowest that it's been in the past 4 years, according to Rock Health. We have seen a substantial increase in the amount of deals that have gone unlabeled last year. So this kind of rise of creative financing has shown that founders are reluctant to really label their rounds. So we're seeing a lot of sort of bridge financing or pre-rounds. And in line with the general challenging economic environment, increasing interest rates, we're seeing that venture funds are also in turn struggling to raise their own capital. So this is something that we're expecting is going to continue into 2024. And again, will make it even harder for founders to raise their own capital. We've been seeing the valuation adjustments that have gone down. So a lot of difficult conversations between founders and investors. We're seeing a lot of down rounds, and this has particularly been the case for mid-stage companies who have yet to set up more substantial revenue incomes. And then finally, the ever-evolving regulatory landscape. So a lot more emphasis is being placed on compliance, on data security. And this is something that we're also going to see more of this year, more changes, and is definitely something, especially for digital health companies, that could hold them back. So what does this mean exactly? Well, the economic climate means that it's going to be even harder than usual for startups to secure funding in the field, pushing towards making them run more leaner organizations. And a lot of analysts are predicting more consolidation, so both horizontally and vertically, and even from new arrivals into the industry. So technology companies who are now entering the healthcare field. Today, we're going to talk about navigating these headwinds, so focusing on 3 aspects, one being value creation, the second being demonstrating impact, and the third being accessing the market. So these really are the top 3 issues that we would like to talk about today. in order to address the challenging year ahead. So when we think about defining value, because of the uncertain environment today, the emerging medtech and digital health companies are going to be under increasing scrutiny to prove the value that they're delivering. So being able to define that value and having a story to really understand where that value comes in is going to be crucial. So understanding who is benefiting from it, what is the problem that you are solving for your end users, and do your end users perceive that value in the same way that you do, is going to be crucial. I mean, how many times have we seen an amazing medical innovation come through with just 10 or 15 different potential, market uses or use case scenarios? So really getting that early high quality market research back from the field to validate your market fit is going to be crucial. And this then obviously is going to lead into a much more seamless integration into your system. So making sure that value is clear and concise, and that you're able to differentiate yourselves from what is already on the market will be crucial, not only for the end buyers, but also for investors and when trying to raise money. So defining value is part of it. And then in terms of demonstrating impact, so over the past few years, a lot of medtech and health, digital and technological advancements have been happening in the healthcare sector. But we still see a lot of reluctance to adopt these technologies. And unfortunately, the medical industry is very resistant to change. And we've seen that digital health and medtech companies specifically are struggling to prove their economic impact. And this is unfortunately still crucial until we get, a real education and full awareness of the potential of digital health. We're still going to have to, as startups, prove our economic impact. And do this through the generation of evidence. So being able to gather data from any source possible and as early on as possible is going to be crucial. So obviously in parallel to the regulatory path, the business path, generating data as soon as possible from different case studies or real-world evidence, or even creating health economic models, which is actually something we're going to talk about in a future workshop, which is going to be really interesting. Having these sort of out-of-the-box thinking to get data as early on is going to be really, really important. So as an example, perhaps one of the clients we've been working with recently is on their way to developing a medical device in the respiratory field. And they are on track to go to market in the US and have still 9 to 12 months ahead of them for the FDA. But in the meantime, they were able to get regulatory and market authorization to go to market in Colombia. So this enabled them to place the first 30 devices in a hospital in Colombia. They have a product champion there who is testing them out and using them and integrating them into their standard of care. And is someone who is also very motivated to publish and to position themselves as a leader of technology innovator in their region. So this is not only benefiting the company because they're getting hands-on real life data in a different, in a different geography, in a different country, but at the same time, they're testing out their product, they're getting feedback, any problems that are arising, they're able to figure out, and it will put them in a much better position for the time they actually go to market in the US. So being able to think outside the box to generate these kind of data, working with data banks, collaborating with hospitals is really a good way to test out your product before you get the necessary regulatory approval. And so once you have all of this in place, accessing the market is obviously the next step and can be pretty daunting at times. And this is where the need for distribution channels can have a huge impact on a startup's ability to actually gain exposure and scale within a given industry. So trying to do this by yourself is going to be extremely expensive and time consuming. and being able to benefit from a mutual partnership with the distributor where they're going to be able to provide not only their knowledge, but their experience and help you position your product into the correct market is going to be crucial. So part of what these sort of distribution partnerships can help you achieve is to actually solidify the infrastructure around your solution. So getting it to market is one thing. Once it's in the hands of the end user and it's being used, have you thought about the different maintenance or regular updates that the product's going to need? How are these going to be transmitted or communicated to the end user? Who is going to be paying for any, potential service updates or any deployment you need of a specialist to go and actually update the software or the product? How often are these updates going to be coming? Can you prepare your end users or your distributor partners to help you handle that as easily as possible? Who's going to be paying for this? So those are all questions for post-marketing logistics, essentially, that need to be kept in mind right at the beginning, because this is also going to add to the value that you're able to communicate to form these partnerships at the start. Will your innovation require a change in mentality? Most of the time, disruptive healthcare innovations will require quite a significant change in mentality. And as we know, this industry is relatively resistant to change. So is there any way that you can perhaps, include a part-time or full-time staff member along with your early deployment to make sure that it's happening in the right way, to make sure that that the product is being utilized in the correct way, that it's being used to its full potential, and that the organization as a whole is benefiting from your innovation? So this sort of infrastructure around your solution that you may not necessarily think about right at the start is really key to feeding into the whole story of how your product is going to go from a test product to a successful product that is integrated into the daily use in your target market. So coming back to these third parties and partnerships, so whether it's a platform to market your AI technology or a distributor partnership like we were just talking about, these can have significant impacts to help make the integration of your product as seamless as possible. So we talked about shortening the time to market. So you're going to be able to benefit from their established sales team and connections in the field. A lot of the times these sales managers have been working in their regions for 10, 15, 20 years and have very intimate connections within the hospital. They know all the decision makers, and being able to tap into this network is obviously is extremely valuable, especially when you're in a time crunch, and also having that mutually beneficial partnership in place will make it very cost effective for you. So again, being able to rapidly scale your business using their existing infrastructure and building on that with your own team, having much more cost-efficient relationships and benefiting from their existing protocols and tools. How are, for example, product complaints handled? How is the maintenance log kept up to date? Do you have templates in place for that? And that's something that these third parties or these partnerships can really help you accelerate. And then obviously just benefiting from the shared knowledge and experience of these partners. So I always think two brains is better than one. So the more you can get in the room and the more experience you can learn from in the specific industry that you're targeting is really crucial. And especially for startups who don't necessarily have product advisors or any direct end users in their team, these kind of partnerships can help you get that insider information in addition to any sort of market research that you may be running. So to take as a take-home message, I guess the top three sort of let's say solutions or recommendations we can make for entering a challenging 2024 is to really make sure that you have a clear storyline so that you're people can understand your unique value of your product, of your company, of your solutions, and make sure that that value has been validated by your end users, by any potential buyers, by your distributor, your partners that you're going to be working with, because that value is going to be so crucial to making sure you stay on track and that you focus on getting your idea into the hands of patients as quickly as possible. Secondly, to gather as much evidence as you can. So here, I think always thinking outside of the box, whilst obviously, staying within the regulations and being compliant, there's still numerous possible ways through partnerships, through research, through case studies that you're able to gather evidence and bring this out in sort of peer-reviewed journals or peer-reviewed case studies. Is really going to add to the value of your formal regulatory clinical trials, etc. And then finally, just re-emphasizing working with partners to share this knowledge and to maximize the adoption through the partnership and you being able to benefit from their network, their scalability, and all of their experience in the industry. So those are that was the slides. So we're finished a little bit earlier than perhaps expected, but I'd like to open the floor up to any questions that you may have. I'm going to see if I can make sure I'm monitoring the chat in case anyone posts anything there. But do feel free to unmute yourselves. If you just want to say hi, introduce yourself, please go ahead. And we're here to, I'm here to answer any questions. I think someone is typing in the chat. Okay, so you spoke about value and defining the unique value of your product. How can you know if this will resonate with your end users? Yeah, great. That's a good question because I think talking about defining value is one thing, but being able to actually put that on paper and go out and validate it is another. So how can you know if this is going to resonate with your end users? Well, I would say, high quality market research from an early stage and almost continuously throughout the iteration of your product development is crucial because you want to continuously validate that your product is meeting the needs of your users. So being able to understand the patient journey or your user journey, I think is really crucial to making sure that your product is going to meet the end needs. I hope that answers your question. If there are any other questions, please feel free. Otherwise, we will slowly wrap up the session. All right. Well, thank you very much to everyone for joining today and for staying on. Thanks for your time. Just as a reminder, you can follow us on LinkedIn. You can have a look at our website. We're trying to do these workshops on a weekly basis. So feel free to submit also any recommendations for topics you'd like us to address. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thanks for your time. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one.